Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here with how low can we go at 27%?
27%.
27% with a, again, criminally underrated horror film, 1977's The Car.
Cult classic.
Evil has visited the earth in many forms. Now it returns as the car.
There was no driver in the car.
Possessed.
I know why he didn't go into the cemetery. The ground was hallowed.
Who knows what it wants? They all know nothing can stop the car.
This is Wade! We can't let him through no matter what! Stay in close! You'll have
to stop! There's nowhere to turn.
The car, he's in here!
Nowhere to hide. No way to stop the car.
I think I hear the engine of that car. It's around here somewhere. Wait, I'm scared. No, I promise you I won't go out. Tell me what to do, baby.
What evil force drives the car?
So, alright, so let's get... I just got done viewing it for my very first time. You know a little bit about it. For those who aren't familiar with it, could you give them a little synopsis?
Yeah, here's a little synopsis from IMDB if you haven't seen the movie. So it's near the small town of Santa Ynez, a mysterious black car runs down two teenage bicyclers en route to camp. Then it hits and runs a hitchhiker with local Amos Clements as witness. 3 kills on the first 5 minutes.
Super fast. Very quick.
Sheriff Everett puts his men on alert and plants roadblocks, some physical, some actual human beings, in the area to arrest the murderer, but soon he himself falls victim to the car. Sheriff Wade Parent, that's his name.
Wade Parent?
I didn't realize that. His last name was Parent. Mr. Parent leads the hunt for the vehicle that threatens their town and seems impossible to locate. When his beloved girlfriend, teacher Lauren Humphreys, challenges the driver in a cemetery, the car hunts her in her home. Wade realizes he might be dealing with supernatural powers at that point.
Wait, this is the synopsis?
That's it.
That's like the first hour and a half of the film.
Well, that's
spoilers.
That's IMDb.
You just
you know what?
Keep going. Just add like an extra paragraph.
Yeah, and then
it's the dynamite ending. Lazy pieces of shit.
Yeah, what do you? Come on, IMDb.
Okay, so that's
another website on our list to hate.
Exactly. They're growing quick. So going into this, obviously what I had on my mind was Duel, which I kept referring to as Rubber, getting it confused with the other
Killer Tire movie.
With the Killer Tire movie. Mm-hmm. And I would say for 27%, this movie kind of blew me away, figuratively and non-figuratively. Blew me away like the fantastic ending.
Don't forget the satanic wind of that.
And the satanic opening.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. This movie starts with a quote from Anton LaVey, the author of the Satanic Bible, which I don't recall any mainstream horror movies opening up.
What's funny is I read it and I was like, that sounds kind of weird. That sounds like it was written some old Elden time, and then you're like, nah, Satanic Bibles.
It was like 1964.
It wasn't that long ago.
It's fine. So a little background on the movie, like the interesting part is that So this movie's 1977. Jaws came out in 1975. Exorcist had overwhelmed moviegoers in like 73, I think. So these two things were like in play when people were creating movies. So the creators of this movie behind the scenes referred to it as Jaws, but on the land and with a car, right? So the story arc is virtually the same. A lot of the characters are just straight up similar to Jaws characters, and they even, if you think about how Jaws dies and you think about how the car dies,
yeah, exactly. Once they were setting up dynamite, I was like, Jesus Christ!
they even went with the explosive ending. So. It's pretty similar, but they threw in the Exorcist twitch, right?
Little
twist.
devil.
They made the car
a lot of devil stuff happening in the 70s.
Absolutely. And there's a really little known. There was an underrated anthology called I want to say it was called Nightmares, and it's probably early '80s. And Lance Henriksen starred in one of the anthology segments. And the segment was called Benediction, and that was a straight up ripoff of this, but short. And it was a killer satanic truck. There's actually a scene in that movie where they buried the truck underground, clearly in the movie, like they're not having the movie like the stunt.
Yeah. And
then everyone's looking for where the truck is, and it just emerges out of the ground like a groundhog, cool. like whatever. But when it
with groundhog, the least scary.
Yeah, I don't know why. What else comes out of the ground?
That's true. It's funny we said it though. Like I imagined like the truck like flipper going on, but then I imagined just like popping up and going back down.
Well, imagine a truck with an upside down cross hanging from a rearview mirror, because that's the satanic
that's pretty cool.
touch they gave for that truck. So this is very, very similar, but you could tell they were going for both of those things. I feel like this movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. There's a really, really famous kind of like the car runs through a house murder it's my second favorite scene in the movie, and it's really startling. It still holds up today. Yeah,
watching it, like one of my notes was like it's probably still one of the coolest horror movie deaths of all time.
Yep.
So like, where's that in the Bravo countdown?
Right?
We're gonna constantly refer to the Bravo countdown. That shit hasn't aired in like a decade, and we're still like waiting for round 3.
That's unfortunate.
But anyways, no, it is a really cool death, and it almost sort of reminds me of the ending of Salem's Lot, when the one dude's at the door and you see like the vampires crawling in the background. It's like that, but heightened, and it's really cool, and it's probably the most effective death in the whole movie, because a lot of the times like it shows the car like barely skimming their leg, and then it cuts to a shot of them like rolling on the ground like, ugh, I'm dead.
I actually like the opening murder where it cuts to like the bent bicycle wheel, just kind of spinning in the. It's their version of Spielberg's like the cone in the water after the swimmer gets it. Right?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I said was throughout the whole film, there's a lot of like super gorgeous, pretty shots. So that opening scene they were talking about kind of reminded me of the Cars ride at Disneyland, where it's just like pine trees and big mountains. Totally. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of got that Disney vibe going. And
that dust mountain.
And it's like super gorgeous. And what we made a joke about was how every fourth shot is pretty.
I love your theory. This was your theory,
and it held up like on point. So it's like it was like ugly coverage that they knew they had to get, and then like one really pretty shot, and you're like, oh, that's nice. And it goes back into the ugly coverage of the conversation you don't give a shit about, and then it goes to like pretty landscape, and you're like, this is nice.
We were watching the movie, and you said that in real time, and as soon as you said it, I was like, I'm going to count this out. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, and it literally lands on a shot of them investigating the bikers getting pushed off the bridge, and it's like they were trying to prove your point. The camera pans up to this beautiful bridge arch in the sky, and like it was. I mean,
that was probably actually one of my favorite shots.
I think my favorite thing visually about this movie is how well they were able to hide the car.
Yeah.
It's astounding how they pulled that off. There were so many scenes where it was literally a pinprick in the background, and then you just see a little dust, or you'd see a flash of light, or whatever.
This movie is like the I Spy book
Right.
for movies. Because anytime it cuts to that big, wide, pretty shot, you're constantly like, I was constantly like looking around the screen, going, "Where the fuck's it gonna come from?" Like I just don't know. I can't find it, and then it come out of like some weird little crevice you didn't think about. And it was, so the game always, or the movie was like a game, always keeping you guessing where the car's coming from.
Totally. And that was, I actually didn't remember that part. You pointed out to me was when the car comes to put an end to the parade. Thank God.
Yeah.
There's just this glimmer of like light
And
reflecting
so
off of it,
fast.
way in the background. It's so quick, but I mean,
It catches your eye, and you almost question if you saw it.
yeah, totally.
You're like, "Wait, was that a thing?" And then it does it like 2 or 3 more times. You're like, "Oh, it's happening."
Yeah, and it's like desert mirage effect, right? So
Exactly.
which is really cool. But the ultimate example of that is the scene in the garage, which is my favorite scene in the movie.
So set the scene, because the first time I did not.
Yeah, so
I didn't catch it at
I
all.
watched this movie once with my fiance, and then I watched it once with Nick, and both times I was waiting to see if they caught what was in the background. And when I was a kid, I had not caught it either, which makes it even more startling, because when you're watching it, it's so weird how I don't know how they pulled it off. But I actually want to talk about what I think what it means. But the scene itself is just a really casual. It reminds me of the Exorcist 3 nurse jump scare, right? With the cleaver, right?
Yeah,
or whatever that is.
Scissors.
What is that thing? Like huge,
like lawn scissors or something.
Beheading scissors. Because they set it up really patiently. The car is kind of laying in wait. The woman who insulted Lauren, who insulted the car in the churchyard standoff, she goes to her house. She's just picking up her things, and you see the car do this jump scare moment where it like crushes her and takes her out. So you're on guard for the car being in the background now. Mm-hmm. You should never miss it again. And then they go to the scene where Brolin's in his garage. He starts up his motorcycle, and he just literally it's like he thinks the motorcycle sounds wrong. It needs like a tune-up, like he's gonna go get a wrench, right? And he walks the width of the garage to get the wrench, and the car is literally in the fucking garage in the background.
I didn't see it.
Just sitting there. No sound, no whatever, just sitting there. And one of the creepy things about the car is that I saw this meme online. It's actually what inspired us to take this and do this episode for How Low Can We Go and choose this movie out of all the 27% choices. It was a picture of the car face on, and the meme said, "You think humans only have souls? Stare into the eyes of the car." It's just a shot of its headlights, right? So it's just sitting there watching him do his thing in the garage. Clearly it could kill him at any time that it wants.
This car, they did such a good job at giving this car attitude, and it looked like I said before when the movie ended, it looked like an old Lincoln Town car with like weird panels on the side. I'm not a car guy. I don't know what kind of how they built it, but that's what it looked like.
Totally.
But they did such a good job at like giving the car this like it was almost sort of like if the devil was like a 16-year-old boy, from the way he was just kind of like, "Get out of my way, people! I don't like you," because it reminded me of the scene that I wanted to get to was the cemetery scene.
Yes,
because it reminded me of the part the church in Sleepy Hollow where they all go to the church. House horsemen can't go there because it's hollowed ground or whatever.
Absolutely. And
it was basically like that. But when the significant other or the girlfriend or whatever was like taunting him, he just kept like doing like spins, just like, "Man, if I can get my hands on you, wait till you go home."
Yeah, well, and that was the thing. I mean, there were so many evocative moments of other horror movies. Like the scene where the parade collapses and they're running is straight up that camera pan from The Birds when the kids are running out of the school.
That was like the only big camera movement they did.
Yeah,
it's like they craned in from up above, then they got down low, and then somehow went from low to like waving in through the parade, and like that was a really great shot. This is like a B-70s film.
It's also the only moment where they actually killed their extras with horses.
That was the biggest note. So if you want to see someone get seriously hurt on film, like this film, like that scene made it. So they're practicing this parade in like the middle of the desert in this little parade area. I don't even know what the parade's for. Did they ever say what's going on?
It's like the town has like the biggest ball of yarn or something they're celebrating.
So anyways, they're practicing this parade, and there's like horses everywhere. And George was telling me a story that the director like just didn't care about the safety of the actors.
Yeah, well, there was an interview with the actress who is the first kill in the movie, the bicyclist, and she said that the director, they were filming next to a real sort of cliff guardrail situation, and the director kept yelling at her, get closer to the edge, like, and she said she almost died. So he seemed to have some disregard for the safety.
So once you told me that, it made the movie a lot scarier because I'm watching the actors, and so we get to this parade. And there's like horses everywhere. And the only thing I'm thinking about is like, this is a B-70s film with a director who doesn't care about the well-being of his actors. And he's putting live horses around like children on a set where horses are supposed to be running around. And then goddamn if it doesn't happen, the car comes through. And that scene almost feels like slow motion because your eyes glued, not on the chaos, but of this one horse who just tramples over this one guy. And like they sort of cut like right before like hove to snout or hove to skull.
Yep.
But you're just looking at it going, that's the most dangerous shit
Yeah.
in the whole movie.
That guy's in pain right now.
And I couldn't believe it. I looked at George, I was like, did they really do that? So then it cuts to this scene where they're doing this big ending where they have this plot to make the car go off a cliff and blow it up with a bunch of dynamite below. And the main actor does this like fake slip off a rock, and there's a cliff behind him. And I'm like, I just know he made him do that for real. Like, like that actor, if he did one more rotation, would have fell right off the side of a mountain.
You died to make the car. It's going down.
Don't ever die to make the car.
Cinema glory.
So that
what a way to go out.
So that aspect actually made the movie a little bit more terrifying rather than the devil possessed car.
One of the things that I caught this time that I'm not even sure is on purpose, but I think is very cool, even if it happened organically, is the progression of the kills is so interesting, right? So one of the things a good horror movie should do is make you feel not safe after you've watched it, right? And you know, one of the things that this movie did was if you think about the progression of the kills, they're really interesting. The first murderers are exposed bicyclists. There's nothing in the world I can imagine easier for a car to kill. Maybe a baby stroller. But I mean, it's just cyclists on a cliff road, right? Like that's the easiest way. They were already sort of in danger. You're on a cliff fucking road on a bike, right?
Yeah.
So that's the easiest kill. But as they progress, they get more and more interesting because they end up being, you know, one is where he literally so he kills a hitchhiker, which is also a super exposed person. So that's, you know, and then
but not as exposed.
Well, because he's kind of asking for it because he's a dimwit. Like,
yeah, he was
he was
gross.
Yeah,
I'd rather hang out with the hitchhiker and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre than that guy.
That's saying something. Holy crap! Well, you're gonna miss the French horn, but that's okay. But then as it goes, he's trying to kill people who are on a parade ground, but they have authority figures protecting them. Then he just outright kills someone in their house. So you think you're safe there, right?
Clean through the house.
That's
like, the crazy part.
Amazing scene. And then he literally, you know, even in Duel or a lot of these great, like Christine even, you're thinking to yourself, as people are running from Christine, you're thinking, like, go up. Just go up.
Yeah, go as high as you can.
I
do the same thing.
Like, what are you doing, right? So he tries to... They're protected in the cemetery, but it's for, you know, satanic reasons. And then at the end, the sheriff actually has the go up strategy. And the fucking car just decides he's going to take the whole cliff down by ramming it. So literally all the things you think are safe, like, okay, it's a car movie, so just stay off the road. You know, like with Jaws, you're thinking just don't go in the water, right? But think about if Jaws could get out of the water and then go into your house.
And just beat the shit out of you.
And then if you try to go up a tree, he just knocked the tree down with his tail. Like that's what this movie was doing, right? I think it did a really good job of knowing that just car kills in open road were not enough. And it almost toys with you. Like that's like the movie's almost as sadistic as the car. It has the same personality as the car.
Yes.
Because it's toying with you, which I like. Like the scene where the car kills the second bicyclist, it's literally riding behind him, just bumping his tire. Like tapping it, right? Like not knocking him down, just letting him know.
But that's the attitude they were able to show through the car.
And then just to finish, like the ultimate thing is the car just appearing in the garage. So now we know that the car can kill people via running him over,
and
as the movie says
pretty
4
much
times.
And it's invincible.
Right, and it's
like
it's
force field or whatever.
Yeah, we should talk about how you can't shoot it or do anything to it or whatever. But it's it's now we've demonstrated you're not safe from the car anywhere. But if you can manage not to get hit, then you're safe. No, you're not. He'll just come in the garage and kill you with carbon monoxide because he rolls into that garage and just like guns the engine and like fills that garage up with gas. So it's got a variety of ways to kill you. You can't get away from it even though you think you can. And I thought that was just a really interesting like way to deal with. It's always this is basically a slasher movie, just like Christine, right? It's the same structure. It's just like Jaws. And you got to deal with the variety of how to get the kills done. And I thought they did a way better than B movie job.
Yeah, it does. It feels like an A movie. Like people got together and were like, "Hey, we're gonna make a B movie, but we're gonna try real hard to make it an A movie." And they were like, "All right." And then I feel like they did it. I feel like they met it halfway in the middle.
Totally.
But the one kill that I thought was probably my favorite in the film, and I'm trying to think of like. If it reminded me of like No Country for Old Men or not even that. I'm trying to think of like what movie did something similar where the cop is chasing the car up the mountain, that little spiraling mountain, saying there's no way down. And then the devil meets him there and just he goes to get out of his car and the car just pulls up just enough and slowly just shuts the door for the cop. I don't know, like it reminded me of like just like the perfect villain move of like no, we're done here.
It really was. And the amazing thing is, now I don't want to get too deep with this movie, but like what is the devil's deal? Right? The devil's deal is pride. Like he's arrogant, right? That's caused this whole problem. So the cops are chasing him, and the cop literally his last words are "Oh no, please no." His last words before that is he's on his radio to the other police, and he's like, I got him. You guys better get here fast to join in the fun because I've got him. And then you don't got him. So like that was another thing. You think you're safe in your own car, right? You think but you're not safe in your own car either. Like he's going to get you wherever you go.
No.
And you're right. That move was so classic, but that's like such a great thriller move because the car catches the police guy in his car. It turns the tables on him and then does that slow tap and shuts his door. But now this guy's hanging off the edge of the cliff, so he has to do that thing you do in the movies where you don't move. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden everything's... I mean, it was a ferocious chase scene, and now nothing is moving.
The movie did a lot of really good silent parts.
Yes.
Like showdowns with the car.
Totally.
And they were tense. Like we watched this at like, I don't know, what was it, like noon or something like that. Like it was like 12:30 and we watched the car, and I was still like when the silent moments came up, like I just felt the tension like skyrocket. I was like, holy shit, like this film like knows exactly what it wanted to do.
Totally.
So I think 27% is
yeah for sure. We'll get to the rating in a second. What about things that don't hold up so well?
Oh Jesus! Unfortunately, I got bored of that.
The music's pretty good.
Music still holds up.
Yeah.
Cinematography still holds up.
Yep.
Most of the acting, like even like the old sheriff dude who wasn't a great actor.
No, he wasn't.
But there was still like a charm to his acting. Like he felt like a genuine. He felt like a genuine person. I don't know what that means.
No, he had a lot of character for sure. And Ronnie Cox was great. That's the guy who ended up in RoboCop. Luke, the alcoholic.
Cool hand Luke.
Oh, and by the way, how sly was it that the whole problem everybody in this movie had is that a car has been... This car is their problem. It's been set loose in their town. And the one guy who has a chance to stop some of the murders is an alcoholic. And they portrayed that pretty accurately. Like, they didn't pull any punches. Like, and he's sneaking alcohol, which is causing everything to go to hell. And where's he keeping it? His car. Like, it was so slick that they just his trunk is like literally like cars are the whole problem in this
everything inside the car.
Right.
Things that don't help is not resolving the wife beater situation because that guy totally lived at the end.
Yeah, like he became semi-heroic.
He became heroic, but he's still like beating the shit out of his wife and kid. So
hopefully not, knock on wood, but
hopefully it's like, hey, well, we kind of killed the devil car, so I'm gonna just change my ways and probably.
Well, the old sheriff was hinting that he was going to try to stop him, so maybe James Brolin will stop crying and being ineffective and actually do something.
One can hope.
Anyway, yeah, that character is loathsome.
The weird like 70s dialogue. Like there's some weird like 70s Tadpole, which is funny because I was trying to find a GIF to create to make the post saying, "Hey, we're gonna talk about the car," and someone had that lady calling the devil a tadpole, but I don't know if because we watched with subtitles, we knew clearly she said tadpole. The GIF had her saying cat poo because we say tadpole, cat poo. I guess it kind of mouths the same. So when she said that, I was like, "Is that right? I thought she said cat poo." The intro of the character, introduction of the characters is weird. Like, hey, I'm just gonna wake you up by being super annoying. It's 6:30 in the morning. I think we should have a good old fashioned tickle fight before we have some coffee.
Yeah, it was the worst.
That was weird. I'm trying to think of what else.
Do you want to talk about the portrait?
The portrait was the best part of the film.
So as you guys know, we have a really active community on Facebook for the podcast, and one of the things we asked recently as a question to the people in the community was, what one horror prop would you pick if you could own one? And there was a lot of Freddy's glove and all that stuff, but this James Brolin's portrait in the car is a contender. That was glorious. You want to talk?
It'll make your glasses fog. It is. Not only is it just a gorgeous painting, but a sexy one at that. And it's James Brolin, right? James Brolin.
Yeah, and he looks so pleased to be posing for that. Too,
yeah,
right?
it looked like.
So let's tell. So the teacher who is his girlfriend,
she's kind of hippie,
and she's actually my favorite character in the movie, and I thought she was great. I thought she was really, really interesting. But she when she goes to her house to make her last phone call and get killed by the car, it pans to the house in its 70s glory. Right?
It's like wood. Everything's wood paneled.
Holy crap!
It's real, real ugly.
Lava lamps, and it was just like whatever's
it's like,
in there.
What that canary yellow looking color.
But when you watch this movie, just take a glance to the left, because on an easel, I think she's got a full-on oil painting.
A work in progress, if you will.
Of James Brolin as Zeus or something. Like, it's unbelievable.
It looks like, to describe the photo, do you remember like Olin Mills, where like if it's like Sears photography? It looked like if Leonardo da Vinci took a Sears photo but painted it.
Holy shit.
I
don't need to know what a Sears photo looks like. I get a picture of it.
Imagine just like a hand painted Sears photo by like, I don't know, one of the greats, and but of the cop with this 70s handlebar mustache, and it's the prop that I would take.
That's pretty crazy.
Freddy's glove can suck a dick.
James Brolin's painting is the key.
I would like to have it.
How about day for night filters? You were a big
day for night filters. So this fucking sucked. Even Mad Max Fury Road was guilty of it.
Oh really?
Like some of it looked like that super like where they basically put the blue like looking filter over it to make it nighttime, but like everything has like a really harsh shadow because it's not. Mm-hmm. The ending of the film really screwed the pooch with that. So they were like, it goes from James Brolin.
Yes.
I keep forgetting his name.
It's hard to not say Josh Brolin.
I know, it's really difficult. In the garage, nighttime, they try to fill it with the carbon monoxide. Window breaks because the car keeps doing the staccato honking, as the subtitles kept saying.
Yeah, one time they said the horn honks tauntingly.
Yeah.
It was great.
So it's nighttime. He leaves the garage and gets on his motorcycle, and they're trying to set up the canyon. And then it immediately goes from like what I'm assuming was actual night shots to day for night filters, and it just looked so bad because like they're going down the street, everything has these really harsh shadows and doesn't even look good.
No, it's like dark blue sky with clouds.
And then they're in the desert and there's these like gorgeous blue clouds in the background. You're
like filtered.
Yeah, and filtered. So you're just like, oh, this kind of sucks. It's probably the like production wise, it's easily the worst part of the film.
Sure,
but it's not like awful. Like it's super.
I mean, noticeable. I was pulled so much into the movie that I know, and to its credit for a B movie, caring what happened to the people in it, that it wouldn't ruin it for me. But like, man, when you pointed it out, I was like, holy shit! Like,
and to give them more credit, at the end of the film, once the car blows up, they did have a really cool shot.
Dawn shots of the
yeah. So they at least tried to commit to it. Like they
Yep.
like they didn't just like completely give up. Like it's daytime again. They at least tried really hard, which I don't blame them for a B movie to shoot in the desert in the 70s. I don't think was probably a very easy or
no, and they weren't lazy. I just think I don't think they had the budget or the technology because the people behind it. Actually, the guy, I'll credit him. The guy who. The cinematographer is Gerald Hirschfeld, and he did Young Frankenstein.
Did he really?
Yeah. So I mean, he's no slouch. He's
wow.
So I mean, and it was really pretty. The shots in this movie were gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing in the movie is the horn, and I think the worst thing in the movie is the reaction shots of everybody after the car blows up.
Oh yeah.
I could not stop laughing. Like it would cut to them and they were clearly in a room much like where we sit right now.
Yeah, just put with like studio lights shining on them.
Pretending to see this awesome spectacle of cliffs blowing up
and like the devil in an explosion.
That special effect does not hold up, unfortunately, but I remember as a kid that got to me. Like I didn't expect it. I didn't expect like a devil to show up in the clouds billowing out of an exploded car. Like that
was pretty
not I mean the execution doesn't hold up, but I mean that's not their fault. You can only do what you can do. It's still kind of creepy. It still kind of gets me, but that's just because I have a soft spot for this movie.
Yeah, and I can see why. It's a totally fun movie. Like a lot of people like to put on like cheesy bad 70s B films. And honestly, a lot of them were just even painful to look at, or painful to watch, or painful to listen to. But like this thing was pretty all around. So every fourth shot, you knew you were getting a real treat. The music wasn't that bad, and the acting was great.
No, and the execution, the action of it. But I mean, honestly, when you're dealing with a movie with like intentional complexity, like say The Witch, right? That's so divisive to the horror community, but I love it. And when you spend 5 years trying to make a movie and your themes are like the ones that he was putting in the movie, then you're expecting a certain if all the complaint about that movie is it's boring, it's not scary, but first of all I think it was scary as shit, at least to me, but even if it's not scary, I don't know that a horror movie has to live or die on being scary if it's built like that. Yeah. But if you're doing a B thriller horror movie, it better be scary. And this movie was scary. Like it was really scary at the time. It was there were great scenes, and like you said, it was really creepy the fact that they were able to hide a car in plain sight.
And they did little touches to the car too, like when James Brolin went up to it, like I realized like the car had no like door handles or anything like that. Yeah. So like they did a lot of really cool touches. Like I mean the car, I mean it is a monster movie.
Totally.
Kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they did a great they just did a great job. Like, a monster film is not easy to
no, and that's the thing is I was telling you before we recorded, like there's this concept called anthropomorphism where you project human characteristics onto, inanimate objects. And there's an amazing scene. I think it's a shot, but I think it's my favorite shot of the movie, and it's because of how it was executed. That's that scene. So when James Brolin walks up, he's literally gets off his motorcycle, walks up to, it's like a Western, right? Walks up to the car and he shoots it and nothing happens. And you can tell he's thrown off. He doesn't know why nothing's happening when he's shooting bullets directly into the tires. And the camera lifts up from James Brolin's POV and the camera lands on the headlights. And then a few seconds later, it goes up to the windshield. Now that makes no sense in real life. In real life, if someone's in a car trying to kill you, your eyes are going to go to the windshield
immediately
because you're going to try to figure out what their intentions are, right? In this one, he looked at the headlights because the headlights are the eyes. This car has a personality and a character and an attitude and an agenda, right?
And it looked dangerous too.
Oh my God, I love the front-on shots are so that's exactly right. And the fact that the camera locked in, it was the Western, but in the Western when you're in the alleyway,
it's like eye to eye.
This was eye to headlight, right? And it was just so sly that's where they went. And I know the windshield's black, so you can't really see through whatever. But I feel like you would still be trying to like peer through it if in a normal world.
And they almost give that to you right before the car.
Totally. But in this world, when you want to know what this car's going to do, you're checking out its headlights to see. I swear to God, one's a little bit higher than the other. I feel like they made them asymmetrical just to fuck with us.
Probably. I mean, why not?
Why not? If you're running over French horn playing hitchhikers, you might as well.
Who deserve it?
Yeah.
Who deserve it? Do we want to get to what the fans?
Yeah. We'll get to that, and then we should probably just mention. I had one funny anecdote. If you get a chance, Arrow Video which is probably just as shoulder to shoulder with Scream Factory. They have a really funny commentary track by the director of this movie on it.
Oh, geez.
I highly recommend checking it out because he doesn't seem to have a lot of patience for doing the commentary track, and the person
What's he doing? What's he
no,
up
but
to?
No, it's not that. He did Tales from the Crypt. Don't knock this guy.
Oh.
But
all right.
He also did Twilight Zone episodes. So, but I know
wow, that's like
I'm fighting dirty.
You got every answer for me. All right.
No,
as you were.
No, here's what it is. The person they picked to moderate the commentary track is an asshole. Like just poking at him and like you don't talk enough, and like you could tell the director's sort of shy. They just picked all the wrong person to like chaperone this event into recording. I'll give you an example because that's why I brought it up. Is the funny part. There's this scene where the director is saying, it was really important to me that this kind of ominous wind arrives before the car to like presage the arrival of the car, like because he's the devil essentially. And the moderator was like, that's interesting. And then the director didn't say anything else. So then 10 seconds go by and the moderator's like, so is it really windy in Utah? And the director's like, no, you don't understand. Like that's artificial wind. That was important to me. I put that there because I wanted to whatever. It means that, it causes chaos. Chaos is about to arrive. And the guy's like, yeah, it's interesting. So is it windy in Utah?
Oh my God.
And the director's like, I don't know.
They had Dory
doing weather reports.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's a really entertaining, slightly awkward commentary track. I highly recommend checking it out. So we had Nick had made, as usual, an amazing video that we put all over our social media and asked people to give us any kind of memories or feedback or experiences that they've had, with the movie if they've seen it.
And there was quite a good amount of
this movie
people responding because I never seen this film and I was like, I wonder how good this is gonna do.
Yeah, they got like 2 comments.
The car, and I was like, Jesus, people really dig this movie. That's crazy.
It was really, really cool. But we said we were gonna give shout outs to some of our favorite answers. So we got Virginia Pearson. She said, of course, I love this movie. I saw it back in the day at the drive-in theater, and my parents snuck me in as I was in the backseat with blankets over me. I was 7 years old.
No way.
And I was terrified of vehicles for like the next 10 years.
Jesus.
So good job, Virginia.
That's like, I think that's the perfect way to watch this movie.
Right?
To get snuck in by your parents.
In a car, at a drive-in. You got to drive home. You're traumatized for you're 7 years old. Cynthia Romer had said, I love this movie. The entire concept is awesome. And I love that we have some great actors playing it straight. Not to interrupt her point, but she's absolutely right. Like one of the things we shouldn't let go is the extras, the secondary characters in this movie are really good. The Native American police guy, Luke, obviously. There's a lot of characters. Even the sheriff's daughters were pretty convincing from the jump. Like I think this movie's stacked with some really good acting, especially for a B movie. So she goes, it has some great actors playing it straight. A concept that, let's be honest, could be pretty silly. Comes across as suspenseful and real, and the ending is a real treat. Totally agree, Cynthia. And then the last one is Brenda Smith is OMG, one of my all-time favorites. I remember when I was a kid and we had big double windows in our living room. And it used to scare the hell out of me to walk past them after I watched this movie.
Jesus.
Which is totally true, because that shot like through the window where the headlights pop on.
That was a great shot.
That's a true intensity shot. So what else we got?
Before we recorded, you had sent me an article that you had found that was pretty interesting, involving Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I every time I feel like I can't love this guy more, like he goes and does something, like this interesting or whatever. But so he apparently he is his brother, because they're both car guys. They built almost exact replica of the car, and he just tools around Los Angeles in this like full on replica with functional horn, and
I wonder if it's like if it does the same.
yeah, I'm sure it's exactly the same. It's absolutely amazing. And I got to give a shout out. This article was really funny because it said the only inaccuracy they could find is on the back of the car, but they figure people are so busy fleeing from the front of it, they're never going to see the back, which I thought was great. But it says that the film used 4 vehicles altogether. There are 3 that were based on a 71 Lincoln Continental Mark III chassis. And then they basically had 3 stunt cars, and then they had 1 hero car for the close-up shots.
Makes sense.
And the hero car, which was made by the amazing George Barris, a legend in Hollywood, they cost them $85,000 to put that one together. So the stunt cars were all destroyed during the making of the film. So the only original car left is the original hero car, which apparently is being held in a private collection in Europe. Fuck you, Europe.
That's weird.
What's going on there? But Guillermo was like, I don't need the original. I got a brother who makes cars. Like, he just fired up. He just fired up.
I don't care about the original. I just want the look.
He just stamped a new one, right? So I thought that was a really interesting thing. And then we should probably close with the most obvious question before we do the ratings, which is the car versus Christine. Who would live?
Well, as we thought, or what we were talking about during the film, is I really like how they ended it with the car actually dying and it being done, and then, as always, at the very end, you hear the car horn going off again, and like seeing it drive through like what looks like a bigger city.
Right.
So they both seem to come back no matter what. It's both the devil thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, LeMay, the guy who haunts the Plymouth Fury, Christine, he's just an evil spirit.
Yeah.
I think this car is at least demon level, if not the devil. Mm-hmm. One thing that I found interesting about it is I love the movie Christine far more than the car. So it's just the movie to movie. That's not a question. But I actually felt like the car did a better job of sort of being animalistic. It moves like a tiger sometimes. Yeah. It goes from full stop to lunge at people and move fast. Where Christine's move is basically show up where you don't expect her, have motivational music playing behind her.
Yes.
To kill people.
Yes.
And then, run them down. The fire thing is pretty cool, whatever. The car seems more maneuverable.
Yeah, it was more resourceful.
But Christine possibly seems smarter. I mean, the car got taunted in a churchyard by a school teacher. Right.
I feel like if I had to compare them, the car is Wolverine to Christine's Cyclops.
I like it.
Where she's going to think a little more about it, try to streak it, where the car's just like, fuck it, I'm going to climb up this mountain and rip your guts out. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Yeah, so it just depends. I think in that battle, I'm going Christine because I just always go with the smarter one. But they're both worthy competitors, so let's give them that.
I would say
I'd pay to see it.
The way I will answer this is whose wheels do I want to die from? And I feel like Christine. I feel like it could probably be quicker, whereas the devil or the car, because I'm just thinking about when he closed the door on the sheriff real slow.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, that's it. I don't want that.
Yeah, well, remember, if you get killed by the car, you possibly might not be found for days by the incompetent police department. So you got to consider.
I'm dead at that point. You don't ever have to find me.
Nick doesn't care.
I don't care. In fact, I hope you don't, because then you have a job.
I think there's a possibility that you end up as a ghost somehow involved in Christine, whereas the car kills you and it's just over. So I'm going to hang on to the hope that I might be like riding shotgun in Christine if she kills me. So I'm going to go with Christine. Unless
you're living in torment. Well, that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole different.
That's the religion podcast.
That's for next.
All right, let's rate this sucker.
This film, easy for me. I would say 78%.
78?
78%.
78%.
I go 70%.
All right. I'm going to surprise you, I think. Even being an advocate of this film, I think I would just go flat 70. And it's not, honestly, the reason why is basically Nothing. I love what the movie did. It's one of my favorite B horror movies with sort of like A-level pieces to it. It's genuinely scary. It's got style. Like, I like all of those things, but I mean, they basically remade Jaws, and basically, I don't feel like their ambition was very high, except to craft it well. But it's a straight up remake of Jaws, basically, right? And I got to give it some respect. No, fine. I'm going to give it 75. I'm changing my answer.
There you go.
I'm going to bump it up 5 just because it was one of the first. So it was, even though it was remaking, like, in the vehicle horror, like, that kind of department, the whole, like, Joyride, kind of situation. It was one of the first, and it was clever enough to put the supernatural element in and not have it be silly. 75.
I think that sounds fair. So
I do love this movie.
If you love the car, let us know. Tell us what your rating is.
Absolutely.
And
if you want to get shouted out on the podcast, best way to do it is to join our Facebook group, follow us on Instagram or Twitter, or follow the Facebook page, all of which are basically at Hello Weekly or Hello Weekly Pod. Google it; it's easy to find.
You'll see the logo.
Because we will be asking a lot in questions on our social media about what do you think about such and such a movie, and we really want to get more of the opinions. The reason we started this podcast in the first place was it was less about horror news and more about what the people who love horror think about it. So we want more voices in it. So follow us, contribute. You'll show up in the episode. We really appreciate it.
Easy. And until next time, watch a bunch of horror movies and
stay out of the crosswalk.
Stay out of the crosswalk. Don't go to the marching band. Don't find yourself underneath any horse. Don't wake up next to James Brolin, sweaty, tickling him because he's trying to sleep. And stay
don't
scary.
Don't play the French horn.
Exactly. Don't play the French horn. if anything, don't play.
If any of those,
don't play the French horn and confuse it for whatever the other instrument was.
Bugle.
A bugle. Easy. Bye, guys.
Bye.